Hey, this is Dr. Steven. I'm getting ready to preach at my home church here in Southern California, and just thought I'd say hi to you guys, and we'll talk about the class now. Hey, friends. I just want to thank so many of you that reached out to me, were praying for me during my recent trip to California. I just got to tell you right now, I'm completely exhausted. It's Sunday night, June 13th, right now, and I know you don't care about me sharing my problems, but I really do feel a connection with so many of you. You know that last week we were in California, predominantly to do my mother's graveside service, but the mega church where I originally started out over 40 years ago, the church that ordained me, and then they sent us on to Denver in 1982, where I served in a large church staff there before we moved down here to Colorado Springs to plant a church. Well, that church reached out to me and asked if I would preach both Sunday morning services, which I did last Sunday. And what was difficult about it was that I shared a very, very personal message. And we'll talk more about it in next week's class as we talk about brokenness. But I am going to give you a link if you're interested. You could fast forward just to the sermon part. But I talk about something very transparent in my life. So that was kind of an emotional roller coaster. And then and seeing a lot of wonderful old friends that we hadn't seen in decades. And then I did my mom's graveside, which went really, really well. Thank you so much for your prayer. It was just calm, peaceful, small, because she died a year ago at the age of 93. So and with COVID in Los Angeles County, we couldn't have the service. So this was kind of our final formal farewell, and it went really well. And my siblings and I get along, so everything went great. Then, because we had things from my mother's estate to bring back home, after flying there, we rented a car and drove back home to Colorado, which was long and kind of exhausting. And upon arriving here, and this was our plan, but from arriving here this last Thursday, we went to Denver to the airport, and we picked up my elderly mother-in-law, who was staying with us for 12 days. And then, right before we got back, we were still on the road, I was contacted by another dear friend who is the widow of the pastor of the very large church in Denver that first hired us, and a guy that you're going to be meeting through an interview in a couple of weeks that I did a couple of years ago. Well, he passed away December 30th this past year, but again, because of COVID, there couldn't be a large memorial service, and that service was today, this afternoon, up in the north part of Denver, about an hour and a half from us, and I was asked to be one of the speakers. So we drove up there, spent the whole day there, in a big, wonderful, very long memorial service. And then we drove back home. And here I am Sunday night realizing I never finished my weekly expectation video for you guys for tomorrow, Monday. Well, I do need to tell you that all these crazy things in my schedule are pretty much over now, so I don't think I'll mess up like that again. But thank you so much for your prayer, because it was spiritually, emotionally, and every other way good and yet exhausting last 7-8 days, and nothing like I've experienced in years. So for this week, it's interesting. We don't have a video interview, but Dr. Frank Marco wanted me to lay something on you that you're going to enjoy, have fun with. I say that partially tongue-in-cheek and partially true. You remember the document I gave you on the Lominger competency skills? There were 67 of them. It was about a 7-8 page document. You remember that? Well, there's a secondary document that I knew about, you didn't, and it's over 800 pages. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to read 800 pages. But what it does is it takes all of those 67 competency skills and it breaks them down, and it has about 10 to 12, 13 pages for each of the 67 competency skills. And in that, it talks about different scenarios in which you could grow in your area of competency, and it's just a remarkable document. So what I want you to do for this week, and it's going to inform our discussion question, is I want you to drill down a little bit. Some of you picked 2, most of you picked 3, a couple of you picked 4, and you might now want to drop one of those competency skills that you first talked about focusing in on, because really I think 2 or 3 is probably about right. And I want you to then find those pages in that massive document and just kind of skim through them and see if there's something that just kind of jumps up at you as a possibility for how you might continue to grow
in that skill. And let's talk to each other this week about it. I'm going to send you another email, hopefully tomorrow, Monday, but certainly Monday or Tuesday, with my proposed schedule for 3 Zoom classes between now and the end of our semester. So thank you guys for your kindness and your generosity and spirit toward me, because this is not how I usually run classes, being a bit behind the curve like I've been. It's summer, and on top of it, we've just had kind of a crazy last 8-9 days. But thank you again, and I'll see you in the discussion threads.